that no work of mythology is complete without a dedication. I dedicate this performance to my ancestors and my musical lineage: Odin, Bragi, Hermes, Taliesin, and now Wainamoinen. Have you ever felt lonely? Even the old one, he of calm waters, the original high bard, Wainamoinen, was lonely. For even in Kalevala, in the land of heroes, he could not find a bride. He was alone, alone. In the land of Kalevala, home of heroes brave, who sing and bring the power down from heaven's mighty nave. The name of things is natural power, or a gentle strength. The earth below, old vine shows the way. Old Vine was lonely. And so one day he visited his aged mother in her thatched cottage. And he told her of his sorrow at not having a bride. And she spoke. Why don't you go to the dark Northland, to Sariola, and seek a bride? For I've heard that the women are very beautiful there. Long golden hair with ribbons in it, and skin as white as the moon. Well, the old singer loved the sound of that, and so he began to gather his power. Called he a great storm, and summoned a horse made of straw, light enough to blow him before the storm on his way to the dark Northland. He flew on the horse of pea stalks, the horse of straw, for it was so light that it did not even wet a single hoof as it crossed the long fields. But old Vina had an enemy, a rival, a lean, lampish lad, young Youkahainen, who the old singer had bested in a famous singing match. But that is another story for another time. Young Youkahainen built a crossbow, but not just any crossbow. It was built of fire-forged iron, tipped with gold and silver. And on the body was the image of a woman, of a horse, of a young foal, and of a jackrabbit, whose ears held the notch of the arrow. He was consumed with envy over the old singer and his massive power, and so he waited, peering around the corners of barns, looking out the window tirelessly, and stalking the streets, crossbow at the ready. One day, as he bitterly walked the shore, in the distance, let us look together. What was that on that horizon? A storm cloud, perhaps. But as he watched and it grew closer, he saw the form of his nemesis coming towards him on the wind-blown straw horse. This was what he'd been waiting for, and so he notched the crossbow and he whispered to it a song of power. He told it to fly straight and true, but alas, when he released the first arrow, it went too high and it split not only the heavens above, but some say it travels through the stars today. But he was not dismayed. He notched a second bow and pointed it at the rapidly approaching magician. But when he released it with its song of power, alas, it sunk into the ocean and split an underwater mountain in two. Some say that arrow rests still in the heart of the earth. But on the third time, he made sure to select the arrow with great care, and he whispered new songs to it. And as he released it, it flew straight and true and hit the flank of Wainamoinen's steed, who fell immediately into the waves. Now the old singer bobbed there on the surface of the water, but alas, the thunderstorm which he had conjured blew him far, far out into the cold ocean. Young Youkahainen laughed and said, "Why don't you stay there and bob like a birch log for 6 nights, for 7 years as the pine tree, and for 8 as an old stump?" And quite proud of himself, he hastened home. Now his mother lectured him for a long time, for he had shot the source of joy out of the world, and she had a lot of feelings about it. But that's also another story for another time. Now as old Vaina sat there at the waves, looking in despair up at the clouded sky, he saw the form of a great eagle flying towards him. And the eagle looked down and wondered to himself, why does the great magician float there in the water? But he remembered a time when, in the beginning of the world, when Wainamoinen had cleared the first field to allow barley to grow, he had left a lone birch tree standing tall for the eagle and the cuckoo to rest upon. And so the eagle gladly sank his talons into the shoulders of the old singer's clothing and bore him far, far away to the shores of the dark Northland. The old singer lay there on the dark shoreline, crying out in his humiliation and sadness, for he was lost, and there was no town in sight. Meanwhile, a tiny serving maid arose that morning. She was very industrious, for she had made a deal with the sun and the moon that she would arise at the same time as they. This day, she beat even those heavenly spheres. And as she rose, she heard a strange sound, a wailing that she had never heard before. And so she ran to the home of her mistress, and she knocked upon the door, and her mistress was none other than the mistress of the north, Nordia, the great queen witch. Now Loki, when she heard this sound, she knew it was the sound of a great singer in trouble. And so she took her copper boat and sailed along the choppy water to find who was in trouble. When she found the sodden singer, she loaded him into her boat, and she brought him back to her cottage to rejuvenate him. Now when Vainu awoke, he looked at Loki. He said, "I am tired of my travels, and I have nothing to offer you, for your daughter is actually who I would love to marry, but I don't think there's anything I could give you in recompense, so I would like to go home, but I do not know the way." But Loki, wise Loki, said, "Well, look, there's something I want. If you can forge something called the magic Sampo, that device with a rainbow shimmering lid that grinds out on one side coin, on another flour, and then on the third salt for the market, then perhaps we can strike a deal. But the thing is, it must be made from 4 magical elements: the tip of the quill of a swan's wing, the down of a summer sheep, a tiny barley seed. Fourth, the milk from a barren cow. How do you do that? Oh, the old singer was dejected, for he knew he did not have the skills required to create such a magical working. But he knew he did. And so he spoke to Lohi. Listen, Lohi, if you will but see me home and show me the way, I know the greatest smith ever to exist, mighty Ilmarinen, he who hammered the dome of the sky and did not leave a single mark upon it. If there's anyone who can make this magic Sampo of yours, it is him. And he does not have a wife either, so I think I can convince him. Loki was intrigued, and so she sent the old singer on his way, with strict guidance of how to get home. But alas, the old singer was still lonely. And when he saw the daughter of the rainbow spinning above him, he disregarded Loki's instructions and fell into many troubles. But that is another story for another time. But at long last, he limped home to Kalevala, land of heroes. But he knew that the smith was satisfied with his lot in life and would not be easily convinced to leave the beautiful homeland. And so, the mighty singer began a new magic. Let us close our eyes for a moment. Close them. Imagine together with me a mighty spruce tree, an evergreen growing from a tiny seed in the ground as the old singer sings it into being. But it is not just any spruce tree, no. Its knotted trunk climbs high, 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 up into the heavens. And in its crown, glitter the holy body of the Great Bear constellation. And there, further under the umbrellaed canopy of its roof, hangs a crescent moon. Among its needle-tipped boughs, there glimmer tiny golden flowers like little stars. And with that, the great singer knew that his magical working was complete. You may open your eyes. With this great wonder created, he completed his journey home and knocked on the door of Ilmarinen's forge. When the mighty smith opened his door, old Heinrich told him of his plight and indicated, if you will but build this magic Sampo, old Lohi has promised her daughter in marriage, and boy, is she beautiful. But the smith was not tempted, for he had everything he needed there in Kalevala, in the land of heroes, and his forge was unrivaled. So the clever singer put into action his backup plan. Ilmarinen, I understand that you do not wish to leave our homeland, but on my way here, I found a great wonder. A mighty spruce tree, whose branches extend so far into the heavens that the Great Bear constellation rests upon it. Surely you could use those glittering jewels for some masterwork, could you not? That tempted the smith, and so together they went to go see this mighty tree. He began to climb its great branches, muscled hands gripping the branches tightly. But alas, the singer was ready. And so he sang to the tree and he sang to the air. He instructed the roots to let go of the soil, and he spun the wind in a great torrent around the tree and lifted it out of the earth. and then he sent it to the great Northland, dark Sariola. He was going to get his way. Well, the smith was scared, but he was confident in his abilities, and so he hung tight to the tree until at last it lit in the yard of Nordia. Now, she came running out and she heard the great crash of the tree descending upon the earth. And she said, "Who is this who has arrived at my home without my dogs notifying me of a visitor?" But when she saw the great and powerful smith descend, she knew who it was. She cackled in delight. "Oh, smith," she spoke, "I see you have come to make a magic Sampo. Here, I have the materials at hand. The quill tip of a swan, a tiny barley seed, the down of a summer sheep, and the milk of a barren heifer. With these ingredients, I know that you can create the biggest wonder known to mankind. And let us not forget, I have promised my beautiful daughter in marriage." Well, the smith figured that while he was there, he might as well go for it. So he gathered some local laborers together and they began to construct a new forge. For 3 days, he had the workers billow the flame into a great roar. He put the magical ingredients in there. For 3 more days, he let them settle. And on the night of the 3rd day, he looked into the forge and he saw something taking shape. He reached in and pulled it out. What was this? A magical crossbow, the like of which had never been seen before. It was made of gold and silver and tipped with copper. But alas, its heart was bent on destruction and on slaughter. So he broke it into pieces and he threw it back into the forge. 3 more days passed. And on the night of the 3rd day, he looked again into the forge. He saw a new form rising. He reached in and removed it, and it was a beautiful ship made of a strange purple metal tipped with copper. But alas, its heart too was corrupt, and it wished to go on the high seas and create fire. So he broke that into pieces as well, threw it back into the fire. 3 more days passed, and then on the night of the 3rd day, he wondered, is this it? Is it the Sampo? But as he reached in and pulled the forming prima materia, it was a new heifer with golden horns. But all she wanted to do was run through swamps and forest and create destruction where she went. So she too was broken into pieces and returned to the forge. He thought, okay, I'm going to try again. So 3 more days passed, and the workers pumped air into the great flame, and at last, on the night of the 3rd day, he looked again into the bottom of the forge, and he saw new materials congealing. So he pulled it out, and it was a plow, beautifully formed. But alas, when taken to the field, all it wanted to do was plow up crops that were ready for harvest, and its rows that it would plow were crooked. So it too was returned to the forge. Now the master smith realized at this point that he had to try a new tactic. And so he sent the workers home, and he ascended to the top of a green hill nearby. He began to sing to the 4 winds of heaven, and he instructed them to blow into the flame and bring it to a white-hot fury where the sparks rose to heaven. And for 3 days it blew. And as the inferno grew, finally, on the night of the 3rd day, he looked again into the base of the flame, and he saw a rainbow lid at last shimmer. He withdrew the materials and immediately began to hammer it into shape. And there it was, a three-sided device, beginning to grind out flour, salt for the market, and coin for the treasure house. Clever Loki had been waiting for this moment, and she ran out of her house as soon as she heard the Sampo working. She said, "Oh, thank you, Master Smith. Now you go lay down, you've done so much work. I'll take it from here." And so as soon as this great smith's eyes were closed, she gathered the Sampo, and she took it to a mountain she knew, whose roots were laced with iron and copper. And she placed it deep within a secret cave, and she bound it with 9 strong locks. And around it she wrapped 3 great roots, one of which ran underneath her house, so she'd know if it was being tampered with. She returned home, and at last the smith woke up after his great work. And there was the daughter of Loki, and he asked for her hand in marriage. But alas, she had not agreed to the bargain. Oops. And when he asked for her hand in marriage, she gently declined. "Oh, Smith, I cannot leave my homeland. I must be here when the birds begin to sing in the springtime. And in the summer, I must join them in song. I will not give up my freedom, for I cannot leave the fields and woods of my homeland, where I pick berries and commune with the land. No, not for anything will I return with you to Kalevala, the land of heroes." And so, dejected, the great smith returned home. In the land of Kalevala, home of heroes brave, who sing and bring the power down from heaven's mighty nave. The name of things is natural power, origin the strength. The earth below, old Vina shows the way. The Sampo is the most desired, embodied he made. But Loki's bold daughter said no. The smith went home.